Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Goud Crowd. I am your host, Goud. You are here listening to us on KMMU, and I thank you for being here. We got a hot show today. We are going to start. Our first interview will be with Tani McKay. She is running for Riverton Mayor. Then we'll follow that with Aaron Davidson, the Utah County Clerk. The order is a little bit weird here. And then we'll have Tish Baroker also running for Mayor of Riverton. And then we'll have Tracy Halverson. So we've got a full slate of interviews for one show. Before we start, I wanted to encourage everybody to go to this rulemaking. Apparently the Department of Homeland Security is taking public comments on a proposed change to the H-1B visa rules. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you. I didn't get a chance to look into what they are proposing. But I think if you just go in there and simply say, we need to terminate the program, it's fraud. We don't need any more foreigners coming here for temporary jobs and taking jobs from Americans. All we need is to cancel that program. Like, we need jobs for Americans in America, no more foreigners. So if you could do that, that'd be great. And Mr. Producer says I need to clean my camera lens, but I don't have I'm gonna try that. Is that any better, Mr. Producer? I don't have a cloth with me. Okay. He thinks I have a smudge. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything. I'm in a different location because this is a very weird situation, but I have workers working on my basement, and they were supposed to come at 9, but they showed up at 2. And so they're working in the basement, and it's making a lot of noise. So I'm in a different room in my house to hopefully make it so you don't hear it. Anyway, the point being, you should go and comment on this rulemaking. If you feel strongly that we need to stop bringing in temporary workers to fill jobs that can easily be filled by Americans, this is your way to make that clear to the federal government. It's your opportunity. Take it. Okay. So we've got a few more minutes before Tanya will call in. And so let's talk about, I don't know what I want to talk about. I have something. We'll talk about this in more detail at the end. But I got to tell you, I was reading the New York Times popped into my feed this morning. And I have never read something that made me, I have actually. This made me upset. It was really disgusting. Basically, it was about how California changed a law in 2022 that went into effect in 2023 and made it impossible for police to be able to go and arrest children that are in prostitution. And the impact of this has been that there's open child prostitution in Los Angeles. And if you go through and read this article, you will walk away from it being completely and utterly disgusted by what is going on in California. And Gavin Newsom just the other day announced, I think everybody knew this, it's kind of an open secret, that he wants to run for president. And I'll just tell you, there's no way that man could ever be president. Absolutely disgusting. There's apparently girls under 13 who are selling themselves on the streets in LA. It is open. The cops feel like they can't do anything about it because the laws have been written in such a way to prevent them from going and stopping these girls from being prostituted out like that. And the crazy part to me is it actually relates back to the trans agenda. And it shows you that at its heart, the trans agenda is always about sexualizing children. That is its only purpose in this world. Well, actually, say it's not just that. sexualizing children, destroying families, and undermining all societal norms. And when you read this article, it brings all of that stuff together. It takes, these girls who come from broken families, although really, just because you're from a broken family, it does not mean that you should have to go and sell yourselves on the street to strange men. And I can't even imagine what that's like, but I can just tell you, it made me upset thinking about it, because I just thought about these girls standing out there and selling themselves. Literally, apparently it's for $100. For $100 is for everything. If you're doing less than that, it's less. And they have to make a quota of a specific dollar amount every single day by their pimps, or they get in trouble. And from what it sounded like, it's bad. And I just don't think that should be happening in America. And when it is happening, cops should be sent in, and they should be raiding it. They should be arresting the girls and putting them into home, fixing that problem, right? I get people's point, they shouldn't be prosecuted for the criminal piece of this. Okay, I guess, if you're 12 or something, fine. But you should at least be put in a home where we can rehabilitate you. And the people who are prostituting you out, they should be arrested. They should be put in jail for life. Anyway, we will talk about that in detail, because it really bothered me. And it has to do with this guy, Scott Wiener. This guy's a total disgusting degenerate. He's gay, like I am, but he's a left-wing lunatic gay who literally passes bills, all of which are intended to destroy all societal norms, destroy just morals. This guy is a disgusting, nasty degenerate. He shouldn't be in any public office. He's now running for Congress. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. I think it's so gross. Anyway. Okay. We should be getting a call soon. So, hello, Susan, and hello, Disagree Butter. It is good to see you guys. Okay. Oh, I'm still sharing my screen. Let me stop for a minute. So that's what we got. Now, in the Riverton race, I think this is actually a pretty hot race. I think we have Tanya on. So, all right. So Tanya McKay. So like I said, she's running for Riverton mayor. I will bring her on and we'll talk about it. All I will say is this. I think this is a really hot race. There's a lot of information flowing around, lots of excitement. I suspect maybe we'll even have really high turnout, which is a good thing. And it'll be interesting to see what the turnout is. So let's see. Let's welcome Tanya to the show. Hey, Tanya, welcome to the Goud Crowd.
Hi, thank you, Goud, for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So to start, let's say a voter in Riverton they've got their ballot in front of them and they are trying to decide who to vote for. Maybe give us your 1 minute pitch. This is why you should vote for me.
All right. So my background's in finance. I have an MBA from Utah State. I've done financial planning. I'm definitely the most fiscally conservative candidate. I supported creating Riverton's own police department, which has saved the city over $21 million. And I also really care a lot about our Riverton families. I want to keep it safe and have limited government. And so, but also I think that it's important to look at voting records and to see, it's nice because both of us have been on the council before, so you can see how we voted in the past. And I think that you'll see from mine that I don't want to turn Riverton into a big HOA. I think that, they talk about limited government and the government closest to the people, the best. And I think closest to the people is the family and the individual, and, letting them make decisions and have property rights and keep their money in their pocket.
Okay. So as you're out there campaigning, what are some of the top 3 issues that voters are raising to you?
Yeah, I would say right now, the number one issue is people are concerned about the skate park. I'm sure that you've heard that there was a proposal to remove the skate park and from the Riverton City Park. I was the only one that voted against that. I'm not against development. I would love to have development in the downtown area, but I feel like our park space is really valuable. And especially with our growing population, we should be increasing our parks, not reducing them and selling them for development. And actually, along with that issue, The city had 2 acres across from Riverton City Hall. So right on Redwood Road, a lot of cars passing. It was zoned commercial. And they actually last year voted to give it to a developer. One of the acres was a water retention, so it wasn't worth much. But the other acre, I think it was probably worth about $1 million. And at the time, I just thought, you know what? I've been outvoted. I'm I'm going to have to deal with this, even though I felt like I was losing sleep over it, because it was really the residents' property, and I didn't feel like it was done in the most transparent way. And normally, if the city has property to sell, they have to have it appraised. They have to, list it on the, like the MLS or LoopNet or something like that. They can't sell it for less than we paid for it, and we paid $565,000 or and 90% of the market value. And none of those things happened on that. And so I was against that. And so then when there was talk to do something similar with the skate park, that really frustrated me. And so I decided to kind of go public. I started knocking doors, especially around Centennial Park, because that was where skate park was proposed to be moved to. And I legitimately think 99% of Riverton residents don't want to move the skate park. And so other issues, I think there's a lot of traffic and construction going on in our city. And yeah, we can't always, most of it is the sewer department, Jordan Valley Water, UDOT doing the intersections, and River City can't control those. They have the easements, but we can do a better job communicating with our residents about, traffic changes and when it will be done and things like that. And so hopefully as intersections open, it will improve.
Okay. You mentioned kind of development. I'd actually like to know a little bit more about that. I think I told you before, when we had a city council race here in 23, hottest issue was high density development. I live in Troy McDougall's district. So I guess, what is your view of high density development? How do you think we should handle development in the city? It sounds like you might be open to some of it around the downtown area. Like, what are the parameters of that?
Yeah, great question. I should have said I'm not against commercial development, because that's what is being proposed in the downtown area. But overall, I feel like between Bangerter and Mountain View corridor in that area, before I was on the council, there was a lot of housing that was approved, and even high density, and that has continued to be built out. We still have a lot of available land in that area. So I feel like Riverton has done more than our fair share of higher density housing. So if I had my way, and I do believe in personal property rights, so people can ask for things. But if I had my preference, there wouldn't be any more apartments or high density that went in. We have 2 major parcels and farms that are left. One is kind of over by Kari Sioux. It's about 20 acres. And then the other one is over kind of by In and Out, the Butterfield Farm. And if I had my way, if those were going to be developed into housing, I would prefer if they were single family, detached, owner occupied, not in an HOA. Because I found HOA fees just keep going up. But also, I think smaller lots, because I know my kids, and with the cost of housing right now, most of my kids, they don't want to spend their weekends doing lawn care. And so people nowadays, they don't want a third of an acre or a half of an acre. They're okay with a quarter, or even, 0.2 or 0.15.
Okay. That's a fair point. I mean, I think maybe you can speak to this, maybe until you have kids that can mow the lawn, you don't really want a big lawn for yourself.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But also a lot of people would really like a dog park. That's one thing that I hear from a lot of people, and more walking trails and paths. And that's one thing I would love to do, is connect those canal trails. We have 4 running north and south through our community, 2 creeks going east to west. I would really like to move that up the priority list and get those paved.
Okay. Because I'm going to ask you this question, because I know this has come up, just so you can address it. I know I think it was earlier this year, your husband, Senator McKay, had requested to, I think you guys own a lot, and to increase the development that was originally allowed. Can you, I know that's caused some controversy. Can you address that? Talk about your views on it?
Yeah, for sure. We have, we live close to the intersection over by Kari Sioux on 2700 West and 134th. We've been driving by it forever. We hate that big hole in the ground that was dug for a basement. And so we thought, you know what? Maybe we can buy this lot and put 2 homes on it for eventually our kids. And even though our kids are like, man, that's a really busy corner, but maybe before they had kids, but we talked to the neighbors, and Dan talked to the other council members. I reclused myself from any meetings or discussions about it or the vote. And we felt like we had the support and we could get that done. But when we took it through at first he asked the planning commission for 3 units, expecting for it to go down to 2. Like most negotiations, you have to give up something. And so we never really planned to put 3. But when he went to the council, he requested 2, but some of the residents that didn't want it showed up in force. And even though they didn't live close to it, maybe throughout the city, they still came and spoke against it. And so it wasn't approved. And so it's surprising to me that people are so frustrated about it when it wasn't approved. And so, yeah.
Okay.
But,
and like, do you think and I guess maybe like people are interpreting like Dan McKay might have a different view of development than you do. I don't know if there is a difference, and maybe you want to articulate that.
Yeah. I don't think he has a very different opinion about it. I feel like, I knocked that Viviano neighborhood that's across the street from Costco. It's a great neighborhood. It seemed like the neighbors are really happy, but I really wish that it was owner occupied. And now they're planning a phase 2, and it's not going to be owner occupied either. And so I really feel like to encourage affordable housing, and so that, with my background in finance, I know that most people's biggest asset is their home. And so the sooner people can get into a home, the better. And so I don't think his is that different, although we have committed. We probably won't ever buy land in Riverton again. It hasn't been experience, unfortunately.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, next question on this. I know that Mayor Staggs entered a 287G agreement with ICE. I saw answers that both you and your opponent gave to the local paper about it. I guess I'm wondering if you win, will you maintain the 287G agreement, or will you cancel it? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think both of the candidates have said that they would probably plan to cancel it. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be willing to work with ICE, but I do think that it's important that we trust our local police department. I've also heard that with that agreement, we send 2 of our officers to get trained by ICE, and then they have such high signing bonuses. I hear that you oftentimes lose them. And so then if you send 2 more to get trained, and then you lose them, And so I know that we have had an increase in a need for translation services through our courts. And so it does mean that Riverton is becoming more diverse, but I don't feel like we have had a huge significant of gang-related crime or violent crime. And so if somebody is here that is here illegally and they commit crime, or especially violent crime in our neighborhood, I want to send them home. I don't want them in our neighborhood. But I also think it's important that we don't do racial profiling and things like that. So I think there is a place for working with ICE, but I would trust our police chief has lived in Riverton for over 30 years. He lives here, and he reports to me that there has been an increase in crime, but it's similar to the increase in population that Riverton has seen.
Okay, interesting. I guess I didn't realize that you both are for canceling the 287G agreement, so that's interesting. Okay, talk about now your views on transparency. I think that this is kind of an issue where there seems to be a little bit of a distinction. I'm not sure if it's big, but how will you make sure that residents feel that they're part of the process and that you're communicating information to them?
Yeah, I think there's kind of 2 parts to this. The first one is just letting residents know what our plans are and having a say about what they would like to have happen. For example, the skate park. I feel like the council was making decisions in some closed sessions and the residents didn't have input about it. And so by the time it made it to a public meeting, they had already decided this is where they want it to go. And when I started to let people know, and then they started to get some pushback, they sent out a survey. But even that survey, it felt like was biased. There wasn't an initial question of leaving the skate park where it was. And so that was frustrating to me. And I didn't feel like our residents got to have a say in it. And that decision hasn't been made 100% yet. I'm still fighting it. I don't feel like it's a good move. I don't think our residents want it. Another thing is just that community redevelopment area.
Yes, I saw that in your responses. Okay, I'd like to know more about that.
It was approved in 2022. And at the time, I read the CRA regulations in the state, and it said that it allows cities to give tax increment financing, and it allows them to waive part of the sales tax revenue that would go to a city. So for example, we use that with Costco. We said for the first 5 years, we'll only collect half of the sales tax revenue that the city would normally get. And so Harriman was also competing to get Costco, and they actually offered a bigger, reduction in sales tax revenue and for a longer time period. But in the end, Costco decided to come to Riverton. I was okay for that to happen because I've seen the benefit that it's had for our community, even just receiving half of the tax increment. So I was willing to do something like that to help businesses come along the east side of Redwood Road or the south side of 126 east of Redwood. I know in that area, residents want to have sit-down restaurants, more shopping, things like that. And it's been years and they haven't developed. But when I voted for it, and when the city attorney explained it, it was the same. But when I voted for it, I never in a million years would have imagined that we would be giving away $1 million pieces of property. And so if I had to do it over, if I knew that that was part of the plan, I never would have supported it. I think that, like I said earlier, we should have had it appraised. We should have sold it. We should have made it available to all developers, not just offered it to one. And so that goes along with transparency and getting citizen feedback. And so I think that, we should never give away property, but also we need to be more transparent and have more meetings in the public eye and get more resident feedback.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, you're saying that Riverton Development Agency is what's related to the giving away of the parcel property you're talking about earlier.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's kind of a loophole. And that's the reason they were able to give it away. If it was other property that was out of that CRA, they would not have been able to do that. And so Representative Walter that lives down in Washington, he actually has a bill that will close that, because I guess it's not just municipalities that are doing it, but it's also tax service districts, even the education funds and stuff, he said, are not being handled wisely. And so he's going to close that loophole. And I actually told him I would come and testify in support of it because, these are important assets of the cities. And we could have built an amazing park for $1 million or paid off $1 million worth of our bonds or done something really valuable. And I know that, the mayor says, hey, we'll be getting future sales tax revenue off of that development. But we would have got that if we would have sold it or if we would have given it away, Okay. So I would have been supportive of tax increment, but not of what we did.
What about in terms of residents' ability to contact you? So, I feel like sometimes I'm in a different position because if I want to contact you, I'll just text you or call you. But if you're just a resident in Riverton, you win the mayor's race, how accessible will you be, and how will they be able to contact you?
Yeah. Well, one benefit is that I wouldn't have another job outside of being mayor. And so even though in Riverton it is a part-time position, I know that I would be putting in closer to full-time hours, if not more, especially, during the 4th of July and during different celebrations like that for the city. But I would also have open door policy. Residents could come anytime. I would also love to have lunch with the mayor. where we would rotate around to different restaurants and support our local restaurants and be able to have people come in, ask questions, even like Mile with the Mayor, where we'd walk along the Jordan River Trail or maybe a new trail that had just been paved, But I would also like to have lunch with the mayor at the elementary schools and at the high schools. Riverton has a huge population under the age of 18, almost a third of Riverton is under the age of 18. And so even though they don't vote, I think it's important to listen to them.
Yeah, and those, I'll tell you, like I see those, like the high school kids at the gym. Whoa, they're conservative. I just like, like they got their like, Find Jesus shirts on. Like there's only 2 sexes. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. And it has been interesting throughout the campaign. I think, it's especially with what happened in our state, it has got the youth a lot more involved. It felt like at first when I was knocking doors, they would stay on their phone on the couch or whatever. And now when they hear, and I'm running for mayor, they jump up and come to the door and have questions and are engaging more. And I think that's a really positive thing.
What kind of questions do they ask you?
A lot of them, it has been interesting. Some people have asked about the Salt Lake and what I would do to make sure that the water was going to it. So water conservation, things like that. But also people have asked, what are you going to, a common one has also been about skate parks. But also I've had, especially teen boys, say, we love riding our Surons and our e-bikes and our e-motorcycles, and the cops keep pulling us over, but there's no place for us to go. And so that's something, we have a 16-acre park planned in between Bangerter and Mountain View under those power lines. We can't build buildings under them. And so I would love to do a big motocross trail out there so that if our officers, if I see the kids popping wheelies going down the road and I understand that it's not safe, but we need to have a place where they can go and safely ride it, where maybe they were required to wear a helmet and other safety equipment and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. I gotta read this real quick. You're listening to KMMU, Mainstream Media Utah. Listen live on X, Rumble, YouTube, and on our website, kmmu.org. Like, share, and hit the notification bell. Subscribe for free on our website for notifications. I didn't even know you could do that. Call in live and talk to the candidates, and thanks for listening. Yeah, if anybody wants to call in, feel free to call in, or you can write questions. I have the X feed up. Okay, let's see. Let me just answer this question. Okay, a couple more minutes here. There's another question I want to ask you. So there's kind of this endorsement war going. I guess I don't know what to call it. Whatever. There's always endorsements that go to different candidates. I get this. I've run for office before. I'm curious if you have a sense of maybe like are your endorsements better than her endorsements, or do you think it matters?
Yeah.
The question.
Well, I will say that a couple council members said if you go public that we gave away that land and that we're going to, develop the skate park, we will flip our endorsements. And I had to decide at the end of the day what was more important. But truthfully, I don't feel like it was right giving away that land. And I don't feel like the Riverton residents want to sell the skate park or the water retention across the street from the skate park. And so in the end, I had to decide. I represent my residents. I don't represent the other elected officials. And so that was the decision I made. But if you look at my endorsements, I'm endorsed by the Draper, Lehigh, Bluffdale, Harriman mayors, a lot of the state elected officials that represent Riverton, like Mark Strong, also our Jordan School District board member. He knows how involved I've been in the schools. And so I feel like some of those endorsements, I'm endorsed by Sheldon Stewart that we used to serve on the city council together. Now he's the county councilman for our area. And so I feel like some of those endorsements that I have and the relationships that I have and have built over the last 8 years are really important and will help our city to be successful in grant writing and getting transportation funds. I also wanted to mention really fast, you've probably seen the video that my husband said he won't run for re-election next year if I'm elected mayor. And so for some people that may be a positive and for other people it may be a negative.
Okay, yeah.
For the people that were concerned,
Okay, so 30 seconds.
Okay.
Closing argument. Why should people vote for you?
Yes. I think people should vote for me because I care about families and I care about Riverton being safe. And I care about our kids having a safe place to grow up and to live. And I also am the most fiscally conservative and will keep your tax dollars in your pocket and keep limited government. I think Riverton's one of the most conservative cities in the state, and I want to keep it that way.
It is. Definitely is. Okay, where can people find you?
My website is Vote McKay, MCCAY, a little bit different than some other McKays in the state.com. And my email is TawnyMcKay@gmail.com. I would love to come and visit, come and talk to you, reach out. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Good luck, Tawny.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Have
coming
a great
on.
day. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Now we're going from that. We now have Aaron Davidson. So he's the Utah County Clerk. Let me bring him up. This is like, we're moving. Hey, Aaron, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Goud?
Good. Welcome to the Goud Crowd, or welcome back. You've been here before. Well, thanks for coming on.
Good to be back.
There's been this whole controversy going on about these ballot instructions that were sent out with the general election ballots in Utah County. Tell us about that.
So, HB 300 was passed, and HB 300 said it was a requirement to have the tab on the ballot envelope that covers the signature. And Utah County didn't have that before.
Okay.
And then in 2026, we were going to have, we had to post the 4 digits on the ballot envelope so people could write their last 4 digits of their driver license or social security number.
Right.
And it was optional in 2025. But since we had to redesign the ballot, we decided to just go ahead and do it once instead of doing it twice.
Okay.
And so we put the 4 digits on this year, as well as 4 other counties this year also along with us. We probably didn't read the code. It's a pretty big bill, so we probably didn't read it close enough. There's a word interpretation that really threw us.
Yeah.
So on the ballot envelope, it said that there had to be the 4 digits. Good. And I'm at a loss for words right now. I can't remember what that word was. It's like significant signature or a valid signature.
Hold on, let me show. I actually have a copy of the Salt Lake County ballot envelope. I don't know if this would be helpful. I don't have one from your county, but do you see that?
Yeah, no. Well, Salt Lake didn't put the 4 digits on this year.
Right.
So they didn't have to worry about it.
Just so people are clear, this is what you're talking about up here is the tab, right? That when you seal the envelope, it covers up the signature.
Yes.
Okay. No, sorry. Continue with what you were saying about the signature itself.
I should have come with the code.
Is this HB 300?
Yeah. Well, it was before 300. It might have been in 300, but it just says that there has to be a signature on the ballot. So if there's 4 digits and that there is a signature, it doesn't say it has to be the correct signature, just a signature. We validate the ballot by the 4 digits only. So that was the interpretation of the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Oh, God. Okay.
And so after 2 days of processing ballots, my staff was saying, there's ballots that we're approving that the signature does not look like the proper signature, but the digits are the correct.
Okay.
And so we didn't like that, and we talked to our liaison at the Lieutenant Governor's office, and then she said, "Well, you got to start keeping track of how many ballots there look like that."
Okay.
But you do have to approve them. So we approved them, but we found that we tracked 790 ballots where the signature did not match, but the 4 digits did.
Wow.
And I was not comfortable with that because that's 1% of all the ballots that were cast.
Okay.
And that's after missing 2 or 3 days. So if we'd put those on there, it could have been 1,000 ballots that we received where the signatures didn't match. But we weren't going to go back and reprocess the ballots. So I can show that we have 790 ballots where the signatures didn't match.
Wow. But okay. So can we just break this down a little bit? I think so. So you did it. This is the primary election this year, right?
Yes.
And you did what is allowed, I think, under HB 300. You had both a spot for the signature and for the person to write the last 4 their social security or driver's license number.
Correct.
Okay. And then when you do that, if the last 4 of the ID number matches with what you have on file, you then do not go and match the signature. Is that right?
There just has to be a signature.
Oh,
If
wow.
they left it blank and the 4 digits matched, we rejected it. But if
Okay.
the digits matched and there's a signature, we had to approve it.
Wow. Okay, so that's crazy because that could mean if you have somebody's, let's say families, they could have each other's driver's license number, write it in, and one person could sign on the ballot, the signatures or the envelopes, submit them, and you just have to count them as being valid, even though the signature doesn't match.
Correct. And the proverbial fraud in Utah is like, oh, the missionary mom is signing for her missionary.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that happened this time. I even saw one that said the email address was the boy's name at missionary.org. Well, that's probably a missionary, but the signature style was that of his mother. And I also saw many of them where the signature style was the same as one of the spouse.
Oh.
So the spouse was basically filling both of them in, signing both of them, one with the correct name and one with the spouse's name, but with the signature style as just the same spouse.
Wow. Okay. This is really interesting because I ran an election integrity committee in 2021, and one of our recommendations for improving the ability to verify identity for mail ballots, and our concern, just let me add, was that signatures are very discretionary. So clerks can pass through signatures that don't match if they feel they want to. Like, there's really not much stopping that.
Yeah, it's very subjective.
Yeah, extremely subjective. And so we thought, okay, if you add the last 4 of the ID number to this, that would help, and you could use that to verify. But I think what you're saying is actually that's not helping at all. That might be making the fraud problem worse.
Yeah. So if it were an and, then yes, it would help.
Okay.
But if the digits match, you don't check the signature. You just have to look to see if there is one.
Wow. Okay.
So with that, I decided, no, I'm not going to put it on the general because it's not required till next year. So I'm going to take it off and end up redesigning our ballot twice anyway, our ballot envelope twice.
Okay.
But I'm like you, I believe in election integrity, and this decreased that election integrity. So I took it off. Unfortunately, we had prepaid for the ballot instructions. So the ballot instructions, still said put the 4 digits on there, but it would have cost us $69,000 to reprint the instructions.
Okay.
And we've had some referendums on the, what was it? The most recent referendum that went through for the unions, collective bargaining one.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that in our budget. And so we had to eat up our budget, verifying those signatures. And, we just didn't have $69,000 laying around. I would have had to gone back to the commissioners and asked for more money. And I doubt if I would have gotten it.
Okay.
So we just decided to go ahead and send the instructions out. A lot of complaints came through and saying, well, that would have been a justified cost. Well, it's justifiable, but is it necessary? It's just, just don't put your 4 digits on the ballot. It didn't affect the ballot. It didn't affect the elections. It was just confusing as far as the instructions went. So we felt pretty good about not spending that $69,000 and just going ahead and sending out the instructions, because they needed all the other instructions on that. It's just that the 4-digit space wasn't there available for them to put their 4 digits.
Well, okay. How many people have called your office for clarification or to complain about those instructions?
There were a good number. The first 2 days there were 17, so it wasn't a huge number. But then, I got enough pressure where we finally sent out an email to every voter that hadn't cast a ballot yet. And based upon that email, we got more calls and responses. So it's like, and that's kind of what we thought. That's why I didn't send out instructions, an email before, is because it's just going to elicit more questions rather than just kind of letting it go and just answering the calls that come. But there was enough of the media that got together and other people that were saying, send out an email, do something. And so I finally did, and that elicited more response than if we had just not done anything.
Okay, that's really interesting. So, because here, I'll show you guys. I'll show the ballot just while we're talking about it. But the envelope. This is the envelope for Salt Lake County, and I was looking at this, and I vote in person. I don't use a mail ballot, but I thought this was interesting because honestly, this is pretty self-explanatory about what to do. Like, the envelope has all the directions on it. I'm wondering, like, if you just had the envelope and you had the ballot in Utah County, I assume that the instructions on the envelope are similar, so it'd be pretty easy to figure out. Is that right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, once you start putting that 4-digit on there, there's a state required warning notice saying if you don't fill it in, your ballot won't be counted. And so that's really the crux is the warning message that we were required to put on there by state statute. And so that was kind of a little bit misleading, since the 4 digits, there wasn't a space to put 4 digits. So I understand, why it could be a little confusing. And a lot of the voters just wrote their 4 digits in the signature box and sent it back.
Oh, so they are reading the instructions then if they did that.
Yeah. So they didn't find the place, so they just signed their signature and then just wrote the 4 digits after their signature, and then sent it back. And that created more questions, as a lot of people wrote and said, I wrote my 4 digits on there. Is my ballot now going to not count because I put it on there? And we put eyes on every ballot, just about every ballot anyway. Yeah. So, or the ballot envelope, not the ballot, the ballot envelope. And so we know that instruction was there. So we just kind of disregard that number and just look at the signature and then move forward. We're not going to spend a lot of time with those digits.
Yeah. Okay. I did just notice on here, it does tell people as well, at least this one, if it is illegal to forge a signature or sign another person's ballot, even with permission. So I'm wondering, back to your example of somebody putting the last four, but being someone else's signature, does this same warning still apply?
It no longer have investigative authority, because according to Title 20A, the election code, that is a valid ballot. Whereas before, with just a signature verification and the signature doesn't match, that violates Title 20A. Whereas now, if I had the 4 digits on there and the signature didn't match, I didn't have investigative power on that. I would have to turn that all over to the county attorney's office, and they would have to do it all. Whereas in the past, I was just, I'd call the missionary mom. Let's use the missionary mom. I'd call the missionary mom, explain, you actually can't do that. It's a felony. So we're going to void the ballot. next time, mail the ballot envelope to your son or daughter, have them fill it out while they're on their mission and mail it back. That's the legal way. And they all tell me, okay, we won't do it again. That we'll do it the right way. But now, since it's a valid ballot, I can't call them and tell them what they should do, because it wasn't a violation of the election code. It was totally in compliance with the election code.
Wow. This is a huge reduction in election integrity. I didn't realize this. Like, this actually could have a huge impact on how secure the elections are in the state.
Oh yeah, the past primary was the least secure election we've had in Utah State.
I was just saying something.
And the other four counties that had the 4 digits on there, they didn't take the digits off. So we're still going to have an insecure or a non-secure election, this general election.
But then next year it's mandatory to have the last four on the ballot envelope.
It is, and I've been lobbying the legislature, or some of the legislators, to change the code. HB 300 had some unforeseen bad results, and it needs to get changed. That 4 digits needs to be an and, not a primary source of validating the ballot.
Okay. Okay. Are there ways that people can help you? Maybe contact legislators, lobby them, and change the law?
Yeah, both House and Senate. Contact them and say, yeah, this 4-digit thing, it was a good idea if it works in conjunction with the signature and not replaces the signature.
Okay. Where can people find you, Aaron?
Usually in my office.
I know you're counting ballots now, or processing ballots, so you must be busy.
They can email me at aarond@utahcounty.gov.
Okay.
People have been asking me if I'm going to run for re-election, and yes, I am. But I took down my campaign site to kind of redo it, so right now it's not up and running.
Okay.
I need to revise some things on there.
That's coming up. I can't believe it's already been 4 years. I think it's good that you're running. So I think you'll have a lot of support. To me, at least, you seem like you're the best clerk in the state. I haven't seen anyone.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're deep in the data. I just want to point out one thing before you leave. I was looking at your ballot statistics. This is really good. Let me just show people this, because I was like, this is fantastic. Like, this is some of the clearest kind of statistics I've seen so far. And I know it's state statute to put this information out, right?
I think like the top 4 lines is state statute. All the other is my decision to post it.
Okay. Yeah. See, this is like really, I think this is the type of stuff, I'll say, like, you put out a lot of really good information. You're very data-based. And I know I personally appreciate that. So I hope people out there will support you as you start running for re-election.
Washington County County Clerk does a really good job also. They put a lot of the same information online. So yeah, I like to put more out rather than less.
Yeah, we like that. Okay. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you on, and hopefully as the campaign ramps up, we'll see you some more. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Wow. Well, that was kind of a bummer on terms of the election integrity. Yeesh. Utah, get it together. I don't know, like, how is it possible? Although that sounds like maybe the legislature didn't understand the impact of the bill that they passed. Okay, so next we have on the other candidate for Riverton Mayor, Tish Baroker. So like I said before, this is the hottest mayor race in the state, at least I think, because I live here. And if you have any questions, though, as we go through the interview, you can either put them in the messages that I think you do online. I see those as they come up. You can call in at 385-899-2134. And let's go ahead and welcome her on. Hi, Tish. How are you? Welcome to the Goud Crowd.
Great. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. So let's say I am a voter. Well, I am a Riverton voter actually, and I'm sitting here
Good.
trying
You
to
should
decide.
be.
I'm trying to decide who to vote for mayor. Give me your
Good.
30 to 60-second pitch. Why should I vote for you?
Well, I think you should vote for me because I have a ton of leadership experience. I can work with people. I'm good at making decisions. I've had lots of operational opportunities in my life. And so I think I'm the most qualified candidate for the job.
Okay.
Did I make 30 seconds?
I
I
maybe
think
30,
so.
yeah. I like it.
Yep.
It's quick, short to the point. Okay, as you're kind of going around Riverton
Uh-huh.
and you're talking to voters, what are the top 3 concerns that they are bringing up to you?
You know, it honestly depends. But I think if you go west of 2700, the top concern is definitely congestion and traffic and getting
Yeah,
around.
I can see that. Yeah,
It's
I
tough, right? It's tough in the west side.
it is.
So
I didn't realize I lived on the west side until I got a flyer saying I'm on the west side, and I was like, oh my god, no idea. Go ahead.
right. I mean, it's a struggle on the east side, but truly, we after spending a lot of time on the west side, we can't complain down here. We just can't. I mean, we could, but
All right, so traffic and congestion.
it's hard to defend. Yes.
Okay, and then what are the other maybe a couple more issues that have been coming up?
Certainly, you know, with recent events, people want to know about the skate park, especially down here on this side of town, and what
Yeah.
that issue and concern is. And I think for me, those are honestly, I think the general vibe I get from people is they would just like to see Riverton be about Riverton and focused on the needs and focus of Riverton residents.
Okay.
That's the general one.
Okay. I guess one question I know, so we had a city council race. I live in Troy McDougall's district, and so the last time he ran, the biggest issue was development, high density housing.
Development, yes. I should have mentioned that, of course. Yes.
Well,
that's ongoing forever for 50 years. Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about maybe your approach towards development. Where I live, it's heavily opposed to any high density development. Although I live right by
Absolutely.
Daybreak, but I'm just wondering, your views on it in terms of the open land that's left and how you would handle it.
Well, thank you for helping me with that question, because you're right, especially in your district where the areas are, you have real nice sized lots, right? Half acre lots. And people are very proud of their acreage and their homes. And so they're very passionately opposed to any kind of density, which I think is great and is absolutely fine. For me, the bigger issue is you need to make sure you have a really solid, really clear master plan that really points developers in the direction that you want them to go as a city. And my experience has been that too many times we leave it very vague, and then we just allow developers to come along and tell us what they think should happen. And the greatest example I have that I like to talk about is if you start at Bangerter, get off Bangerter on Redwood Road, and you head north, you go through Riverton, which you're kind of like commercial housing, not really sure commercial housing.
Yeah.
You get to South Jordan, and in South Jordan, you get this really strong feel of what they want it to look like, right? Along Redwood Road.
Yeah.
And even though they have some higher density housing, it's very nice. It feels very green. It feels very livable. And then when you get to West Jordan, you're like, I have no idea what they're doing here, and I don't think they have any idea. And I talked to South Jordan, and their answer to me is how they've managed to achieve that is they came up with a really solid master plan in 2000. And for the most part, they have stuck to that master plan. And so I think that's really important, and you really need to get your residents and your council engaged in that master plan. And then as far as that individual zoning, it's really the mayor who just educates and provides all the information to the council members, because they're the ones that are going to truly vote and make the decision, not the mayor.
Okay.
The mayor leads and guides the discussion, but the mayor does not make the decision. You need a really strong planning commission. You need to have people on your planning commission that are really experienced and knowledgeable in all aspects of real estate and land, so that they can bring the best recommendation forward to the city council. And then I think you can come up with a really solid, really good decision for your city.
Okay. So if I'm understanding this right, it sounds
Yes.
like you would, number one, you'll focus on developing a master plan for Riverton. And then number two is, it sounds like the end result will depend on maybe resident input.
Absolutely. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And I think the residents in your district have done a really great job of that, of providing that input, that strong message, right? That says, don't develop in this area. And one thing I think is really important, especially in your district, is pocket zoning. You know, you have
Oh. I think, oh,
sorry,
I think you
it's
just had
disconnected.
You're back.
So I'll start from where I was. But anyway, you have some empty lots, and it can
Yep.
be very tempting to developers to want to take those lots and do more higher density housing. But I think that's a perfect example of where you do not want to have that type of pocket zoning. You want to leave that zoning exactly as it is. And over time, I'm convinced that you will find somebody who wants to purchase that land and build a nice home.
Okay.
I have not
Well-
seen that to be a problem. Nice
Well,
homes in
I mean,
Riverton sell.
it's a nice community, so I don't know.
Exactly, exactly. And the same thing is true with the commercial too, that you really don't want to start pocket density in a commercial, have a commercial person come in and say, I'm going to just take this home and I'm going to make it commercial because it's on a busy road. You really want your commercial areas to fill up first before you start even looking at that sort of planning.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Did I lose you again? Are you there?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can I give you one story? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Can she hear me?
I will just talk about, on our last council meeting last Tuesday, we had someone come in and ask for a zoning approval for that empty lot that's right there by the walkway between Southland Elementary over to the high school. And there's an empty lot right there.
Okay.
And we did have a discussion about that and approved to have that moved to a commercial, which I think will, will fit in excellently right there. A 1 acre used car dealership. But I was really impressed with several of the council members who went to their original dealership and looked it over, so they knew what to expect and knew what kind of product they were gonna bring to Riverton. So they were
Yeah.
well prepared. And I really think that's what your mayor does for you. Your mayor makes sure that the people that are empowered to make the decision have all the right information so they can make a good one.
Okay. Okay, so the next question I have is about the 287G agreement. You know, Mayor Staggs recently entered a 287G agreement with ICE. And will you maintain that if you are elected mayor?
Okay, I did listen to Tawny, and she said we both stated that we would eliminate it, and that is not accurate. My plan is to learn more about it, and then once again, I intend to involve the council in all of these decisions. So then I would take it back to them and ask for their approval or denial. But it's not a decision I would make on my own. I am comforted somewhat by the fact that I did talk to our county sheriff, Rosie Rivera, and I've talked to several police officers on our police force, and
Mhm.
they have assured me that they will be able to maintain policing in their respective communities. And so I feel like at this point in time, I don't have enough additional information. I'm certainly absolutely not in favor of just overall enforcement raids or anything like that, but I just need more information.
Okay. So that sounds like you're maybe undecided about how to handle it.
Exactly. That's a good. Not only am I undecided, that I also want to drag all my fellow council members into that decision process,
Okay. Speaking of
which I think is fair, right? They represent their districts.
yeah.
They should have a voice.
Okay. The talk about, maybe there's been kind of an endorsement battle between you and your opponent. I kind of think it's interesting. The maybe is there a reason why people should think your endorsements are better than hers, or that they should weight them more heavily than hers?
Absolutely. I think my endorsements are very strong because these are the people that I work with every 2 weeks. And when I calculated it out, now I can't remember, but when you think about the number of council meetings that we've been in every 2 weeks, what is that? 52 weeks in a year, so you have 25. So 25 times 8,
So
they
like
have sat
200.
and listened to me and problem solved with me through all of those meetings. And certainly I know the mayor of Draper. I've talked to him. I know the mayor in Bluffdale. I've talked to her. I think we have a nice relationship, but the endorsements that really mean something, at least to me, are the endorsements that come from the people that are working with you on a regular basis.
Okay. Now I saw that you're talking about having a podcast.
Oh,
Maybe talk
yes.
about that.
Yes.
Like, what's the, how frequent will it be? What is the purpose of it?
Well, I took the idea from Harriman, because Harriman, I understand, does a podcast called Harrimanology, where they just take 5 minutes every single week. And the week they have council meeting, they just talk about what happened in council meeting. And then the following week, they talk about what events are happening in their city. I I think it's a brilliant idea. And so I do intend to start that podcast. I also intend to start having regular hours. I got that idea actually from Mill Creek. Several residents have talked to me about how they have friends in that area and they love the ability they have to just drop in and talk to the mayor about something that's on their mind, a concern they have. I also think I want to do a couple of fun things. For example, on the 4th of July, we have this information trailer that sits down there all day. It's air conditioned, which makes this very appealing to me. But it's a place I could go and be, and you could put a fun sign out front that says the mayor is in. And if people want to just drop by and ask you a question or provide you with a comment or whatever, I'd be very accessible. So those are several of my ideas as far as improving communication with residents. My experience with residents, especially from knocking on doors, is they have questions, they have concerns, but it's really almost more of an impulse. Oh, you're here. Let me talk to you about this. But it doesn't really rise to the level of where I'm going to just make an appointment and come down there. So you have to, as a mayor, I think I have to provide opportunities for them to reach out to me. And the last thing I would like to do is, support or sponsor an event in each district that each council member could be responsible for, but I could attend, so that there would be an opportunity for residents to reach out and talk about the particular concerns in every district, and and also to share with some of the things the city is doing. Education, I think, is key.
Okay. Just on this accessibility issue, like I find, so for
Yes.
example, like most of the elected officials here, if I want to talk to them, I can just text them and talk to them. But
Okay.
I feel like sometimes I'm in a different position than maybe the average voter. I'm just wondering, how accessible will you be to the average voter? If they want to reach out to you in between these mayor's meetings or something like that, can they just text you, email you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Text me, call me, 801-673-6103.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have you respond to this comment. It's kind of interesting. Disagree Butter says, let's see how you respond. Neither mayoral candidate wants to help ICE. He says Riverton's screwed. Maybe talk about your response to that.
Can you repeat it one more
Yeah.
time? You cut out just a bit.
Okay.
Neither candidate wants to talk about.
There's a guy on X named Disagree Butter. So he's commenting. You can
Okay.
probably see it. He says,
Okay.
Neither mayoral candidate wants to help ICE. Riverton is screwed. Like, what's your response to that?
Well, I'm sorry you cut out again, but I'm going to take a shot at it. And that's the part about neither candidate wants to talk about ICE, and so
No,
what's going to happen to
neither
us, right?
candidate wants to
And
help
I think
ICE.
the answer to the gee, I'm going to stand up and see if helping.
Okay. This is like so funny. Okay, tell me when you can hear me. Can you hear me now? I feel like I'm in a Verizon commercial. Okay. Can you hear me? Oh, she's having a bandwidth problem, Mr. Producer?
Now,
Okay, here we go. Neither mayoral candidate wants to help ICE. Riverton is screwed. What's your response to that?
no, we aren't. No, we aren't, because we have a terrific community police force, and we have an excellent police sheriff with over 36 years of experience. He's been on SWAT teams. He's extremely knowledgeable, and I intend to take his direction. He's the expert. So I think we're in very good shape.
Okay. Is the chief of police the one saying that they don't want to do the agreement? Or are you just like, I guess I'm unclear, because earlier you just kind of said it'll depend, right? Are you just waiting to see like kind of what he says and then what other council members say, and then you'll make a decision about how to move forward?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I need a lot more information and knowledge.
Okay.
So my information and knowledge comes from the media, and I'd like to have a broader knowledge than that.
that's
And I want to make sure all and I want to make sure all the residents that live here in Riverton know I have their back.
Okay. Okay. So then now I will say there's been allegations in the race of negative campaigning by your opponent, actually. And I haven't seen any allegations of that against you. Maybe talk about your reaction to that.
Let me see. My reaction to not having any negative allegations, I'm thrilled.
To the negative. I'm just thinking in my head now, it's like a trick question. Like, now if you say something that you're negative campaigning, and I don't know.
For me, I think my responsibility to residents is to represent who I am.
Okay.
It's your responsibility as a resident, once you get that information, to make the decision. But it's not my job to point out anything in the other candidate. My job is to try to convince you that I'm the best person for the job.
Okay.
And so that's really how I focused my campaign. I think that's the fairest way for residents to decide.
I know one of the allegations that's been made, and I'd be interested to just hear your thoughts on this, but is that you recently registered as a Republican to run for mayor. I used to be a Democrat. It's been a while since I was one, but so I'm not as kind of like bothered by this kind of stuff. But I am wondering, like, what is your response to the claim generally?
Well, my response is that I didn't even remember when I registered as a Republican, but I just never registered for either party. And then I realized that I wasn't receiving a ballot, and I figured out that it's because you had to register so you could receive that primary ballot. And my other response to it is, I was pretty busy. I was working full time. I was actually working out of state. I was raising a family in the early years, and I really wasn't that actively involved in any of it.
Okay.
So it was only when I figured out that, gosh, you had to register in order to be actively involved that I registered.
Okay. When, if you don't like, when was that? Was that just?
2020. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So I'd already been elected. Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't even on my radar.
Okay. Okay. I think we're at that time. Do you want to give kind of your closing argument? 30 seconds. Why should people vote for you?
Oh, why? Well, I sort of did that at the beginning, but I will tell you this.
Yeah.
I am extremely fiscally conservative. And I think when you make that statement, I'm a nurse by background, you have to add as evidenced by, right?
Yeah.
I'm fiscally conservative as evidenced by. And if you look at my voting record, you will see that I am consistently someone who votes to make sure we are using our money wisely. And all my work on that Jordan River Trail never asked for any money from our city until it became that it was going to encroach upon the trail that was already there. The river was going to. That was the first time. Other than that, I worked with other folks to get grants to make sure that we were able to save that trail. So I'm very fiscally conservative. I am family more oriented. I'm married. I have 3 children. My children are grown. I can do this job full time. I've worked full time for many years in the past. My husband understands what it looks like, and he's very supportive. So that's not going to be an issue at all. And I am really in a place where, for me, it's a passion of giving back. I grew up in this community. I watched people before me give back to this community, and now it's an opportunity that I have.
Okay. Where can people find you?
Well, 801-673-6103, but you can look for me at tishformayor.com.
Okay.
And my email is tishbaroker@gmail.com. Oh, it's at Gmail, excuse me. Yeah. So that's a great way to reach out to me.
Okay. Well, good luck, Tish.
Well, thank you. One of these days I'm going to meet you in person, right?
Of course.
Of course.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Well, that was interesting. That is an interesting observation by Disagree Butter. I guess I'm surprised on the 287G thing. I didn't expect that. Meaning that, you know, like one candidate wants to cancel it, the other one isn't sure if she wants to keep it. Okay, you know, I guess that's where we are. Okay, yeah. What do you do? What do you do with this? Okay, well, I think we have to wait for Tracy. So I'm going to talk about, this has got me worked up. So we're going to talk about this some more. This Anthony, what's his name? Scott Wiener. Somebody asked if he's, I thought someone asked if he's related to, oh, is it you, Mr. Producer? Mr. Producer asked if he's related to Scott Wiener. I don't think so. Although I did listen to a show once where the guy was like, he's a total degenerate and his last name is Wiener. It's kind of like he's, you know, it's like the name is like too ironic. Okay, well, let's get back to this because I got to tell, I just hope that people are beginning to understand. I want to talk about this from the perspective of the trans agenda. So I've explained this to people before, but the trans agenda at its heart is about sexualizing your children, number one. That is absolutely number one, the whole point of it. Number two is destroying families. It always destroys families. Number three is pulling people away from religion because I don't think there's a religion that's actually compatible with the trans agenda. And number four is to destroy every single norm that we have in society. What is going on in California right now is a perfect encapsulation of all of those things put together. And it's important because there are a lot of people, elected officials in Utah, who support the trans agenda, including, by the way, on our side. And I would just say to you that we should vote them out of office. None of them should be in office. So, you know, you can talk about Nate Bluin as one. He should not be in office on the Democrat side. Neither should Senator Jennifer Plum. Neither should Representative Sahara Hayes. All three of them are actually, neither should Salt Lake County Council member Suzanne Harrison. All four of them are big promoters of the trans agenda, and they should be voted out. But really, it's every single elected Democrat in the state. They all support Equality Utah. They all support the trans agenda, which means that they support sexualizing your children, destroying your families, destroying your religion, and destroying all societal norms. And you can see it if you start digging into their personal lives, that is completely what they support. It's disgusting. They're degenerates. They should be voted out of office. And the natural place that the trans agenda leads you is to what's going on in California. So there's apparently this 3-mile stretch of road in LA that is now being called Kitty Stroll because there are openly children there, child prostitutes and child sex trafficking. So let me just see if I can find this. I had a post about it. So give me 1 second because it's just so like, this bothered me so much today. Like to my core, it bothered me. And it takes a lot to bother me that much. So it says that, by the end okay, here. So basically this area in LA has changed since 2023. In 2023, Scott Wiener, that's why he's relevant, passed a bill called SB 357. The purpose of SB 357 was to protect trannies, like for real, it's always related to trannies, from discrimination. Let me share with you this other thing that will be a little bit more relevant. Here we go. Okay, so Scott Wiener, SB 357, he gets this bill, and the purpose of it is to repeal discriminatory loitering law targeting sex workers who are trannies. They left that out of the little headline. So Scott Wiener, Senator Scott Wiener, sent Senate Bill 357, the Safer Streets for All Act, to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk for his action. The legislature passed SB 357 last year, but Senator Wiener held the bill at the Senate desk, delaying its transmittal to the governor. I don't know what that's some weird procedural thing. I will just note California has a supermajority Democratic legislature. So this is what happens when you put Democrats in power. Understand, California is a glowing example of they've turned what is really a paradise into a complete S-hole. And it's very unfortunate. So then it says, the bill repeals a provision of California law criminalizing loitering with the intent to engage in prostitution. The criminal provision, arrests for which are based on an officer's subjective perception of whether a person is acting like or looks like they intend to engage in sex work, results in the disproportionate criminalization of trans, Black, and brown women and perpetuates violence toward sex workers. SB 357 is sponsored by a large coalition made up of former and current sex workers. Like, what are we doing here? LGBTQ groups like Equality California. So take a note, that is related to Equality Utah. One day, this is coming here. And then something called the Transgender Variant and Intersex Justice Project, and civil rights groups like the ACLU. The ACLU supports this. SB 357 does not decriminalize soliciting or engaging in sex work. Rather, it simply eliminates an loitering offense that leads to harmful treatment of people for simply appearing to be a sex worker. The crime is so subjective and inherently profiling that it allows a police officer to arrest someone purely based on how they are dressed, whether they're wearing high heels and certain kinds of makeup, how they're wearing their hair, and the like. This criminal provision is inherently discriminatory and targets people not for any action, but simply based on how they look. People who engage in sex work deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. This is insane. This is completely insane. Criminalizing sex work does not make sex workers or communities safer. How so? Of course it does. That's the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard. Most criminal penalties for sex workers, loitering laws included, do nothing to stop sex crimes against sex workers and human trafficking. In fact, Loitering laws make it harder to identify trafficking victims. Trafficking victims are often afraid to come forward in fear of being arrested or incarcerated. Okay, so this law sets up this paradigm where you can't just go and start have suspicion against somebody because they are looking like they're a sex worker. Now let me tell you how this works. So then let's go to this X post. So this will protect all people. So this is so the purpose of the bill, according to Scott Wiener, is to protect all people from harassment based on how they dress for their profession. I don't have this issue because I'm a lawyer, so you don't dress like dress like a skank to work or whatever these people are dressing like. Okay, so then the New York Times actually did a fantastic job with this article. It's really worth a read if you're able to read it. And what they have is a quote from the police, and the police say their jobs, or not a quote, but this is a description. Their jobs grew even more challenging when California repealed the law allowing the police to arrest women who loitered with the intent to engage in prostitution. The repeal, known as SB 357, was intended to prevent profiling of Black, brown, and trans women based on how they dressed. So, because of the law that Wiener passed, now the police are not able to go and just take these young girls off the street. They're having difficulty doing it because the officers have to be willing to swear they had reason to suspect each girl was underage. But with fake eyelashes and wigs, it was nearly impossible to tell. One girl told Vice officers that her trafficker had explained things succinctly. "We run Figueroa, that's the road, now," he said. Higher Ground says that California law in many ways reflects how schools are protecting transgenderism in schools under Title IX, saying that it's discriminatory to treat students differently because of their gender identity. Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, this is like really offensive. So then you look at that. Okay, now let me tell you. So let's get into the actual story here, because the story is, it just made me really upset today. So, okay. In some of the examples in here, so there's a girl named Anna in the New York Times story. And what she talks about is that she has a quota every night of making $1,200 off of selling herself on the street. That means that she has to be back out onto the street and completed with each act within 30 minutes. And I just want to, again, I want people to think about that. They've taken something that is supposed to be this special act that you do with someone else to show your love for them, and they've turned it into a disgusting, like losing your dignity thing where you're actually standing on a street corner and you're selling yourself to random men who are also disgusting because they're actually going there to get underage girls, and they're paying them, according to the story later on, it says it's $100 to have full intercourse with a minor. This isn't even like some high, it's so sad. So essentially they're making like $200 an hour to sell themselves on the streets. And God only knows what types of risks that they're putting themselves at. They could be physically harmed by the people that are hiring them. They could be physically harmed by their pimps. They could get STDs, they could get HIV. And in California, it's not even a crime for people to spread HIV to others. So you just have to think about how horrible the situation is. I was trying to think about just like what this must be like for these girls and how hopeless your life must be to even do this. Now, there's been some effort in society in general to kind of make it seem like doing OnlyFans, for example, which is a form of prostitution, is this cool thing, and I make all this money and blah, blah, but I just can't imagine that it's actually good for your soul, that if you're religious, that it's something that you can reconcile with your religious views. Although I suspect most of those people are not religious, which is why they're doing it. But the point being that this is not, we shouldn't want people out there selling themselves, and we definitely shouldn't want minors doing it. Like, in this case, I'm actually surprised that this stuff has not moved online. They're actually physically out on the street, standing on the streets, and the police in LA feel like they can't do anything. So let's see if I can find more of the. So in the shadows, Figueroa has become more violent since 23. The younger the girl, the more customers would pay, which meant pre-teens were often being robbed and assaulted by groups of older girls trying to make quota. The traffickers who governed the street were worse. Let's see. They have pictures of how these girls are dressed, just horrible. This is here. So in this case, this girl, Anna, she does, I guess, a trick or whatever. And then she goes to her trafficker and asks for a break. Okay, she's not feeling well. The answer was no. Anna took some Percocets and chased them with Hennessy to numb herself. She is, at this point, 18 or 17 or 18. So she's not even, if she's an adult, she's just an adult. Then she said the temperature dropped and soon she felt longing for another customer's car just to get out of the cold. That's how awful this is. And then again, making $100 a trick off of this. They do have, now part of this is kind of hopeful. There is an officer out there who's actually trying to go in there and trying to bust up these trafficking rings and everything that's going on there. So it's not hopeless. But the law in California actually has to be changed. And I think from Utah's perspective, we need to get ahead of this and make sure that this never happens here. Never, ever. And part of this is going to be to completely eradicate the trans agenda from our society. It has to be gone because, again, the basis of the law that caused this problem is this weird attempt, again, to protect trans, basically prostitutes, which there seems to be a lot of them. Again, kind of a weird thing. I don't understand it, but it's weird. Let's see. So they have stuff about the officers. I didn't want to read this. Again, you can see a photo of how the kid is dressed. Very sad. Okay. Okay. So the repeal, this is again, going back to that, known as SB 357, was intended to prevent profiling of Black, brown, and trans women based on how they dressed. That's not exactly accurate, but when it was implemented in January 2023, the effect was that uniformed officers could no longer apprehend groups of girls in lingerie on Figueroa, hoping to recover minors among them. Now, officers needed to be willing to swear that they had reason to suspect each girl was underage, but with fake eyelashes and wigs, that's what I was saying earlier, it was impossible to tell. So you can see kind of how, again, a law intended to protect trannies has now opened up LA and California, because I'm guessing that there's more examples of this, to full-on child sex prostitution. This is where we're at. And Gavin Newsom wants to be president? No. And in fact, hell no. And Scott Wiener wants to be in Congress. I guess San Francisco, he's running for Nancy Pelosi's seat, so I guess we're going to go from one nasty degenerate to another one. But, I can't help what San Francisco does. Fortunately, I don't live there. Okay, we got Tracy on. We'll switch that. We'll come back to this because maybe there's more to say. Okay, let's see here. Hey, Tracy, how are you?
Good. How are you, Goud?
Oh, man, I'm disgusted by that story. I'm telling you, I saw that story this morning. I couldn't stop reading it. It was like, this is horrific. I'm horrified.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad that's happening.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Okay, but we don't have you here to talk about that. Fortunately, that's not. I guess that's not. Hopefully, that's not happening in Utah. I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, so you're on today to talk about this lawsuit. Maybe tell us about the lawsuit. What is the purpose of it?
Okay, so the purpose of the lawsuit is our elections were stolen this past year in 2024, and they're using this mechanism through signature gathering process. That's their mechanism to steal the election. And no, we can't get relief anywhere. We don't have a legislature that will do anything about it. We don't have a state judicial department that will do anything about it. We don't have the executive department is the one that's committing the crime, and they make sure they get their right AG in there so they won't go against them. But first, let me just go through the website, if you don't mind, real quick, just to kind of show people
Okay.
that the utahcorruption.com.
You want to share your screen and do it?
No, you're fine. You're adding it. It's right there. So here, once you get on, you can join it. And the donate legal fund, I'll show you. This is the complaint.
Oh, that's a complaint.
That is the amount of exhibits there are. So it was massive to print. So any donations that would help. And we did Dan McKay's special. He got served today, and his was wrapped in flag paper.
There's flag paper, like wrapping paper.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
So he got served today, and so, and then when you add your name, we've already got 2,586 people that have joined. Okay. Like 1,000 people joined in one day. It was crazy. So anybody can join because it impacts the entire nation. Because we have a sitting senator that was unlawfully he's appointed, I guess, unlawfully selected. And he's making decisions about the United States. So
you're talking about John Curtis.
Yeah, John Curtis. Senator Curtis is not lawfully elected.
Okay.
So if you scroll down,
okay,
it talks about all what the trick was, the signature trick, the click, and the sidestepping of convention. And we can go through these a ton further, but it's not about party lines. It's about the state election law. So this is your filed documents, and you can see if you want to read the complaint, you would just see right there that thumbnail. Yeah, you can download it, you can print it, and then all the exhibits are listed below that go with it. And as you know, Goud, Utah's state election law delegates the primary process to political parties. And in 2014, they passed this SB 54 that opened up a jungle primary. And it allowed unaffiliated voters to actually vote in your primary. Well, that got deemed unconstitutional for the first lawsuit. Okay. So Bramble and McKay went back in and they fixed that. And so it closed the primary back up.
Okay.
So the law does not say that the governor or the lieutenant governor can force a second chance primary on a party. It doesn't say it anywhere. And even if it did, it would be unconstitutional. So what happened is everybody gets so confused because the party did continue to sue because Cox back then, he was lieutenant governor. Mm-hmm. He said, well, I don't care. I think it's my duty to decide who gets to go on the primary. And that's not what the law says. So he usurps his authority and he starts doing that process.
Okay.
So we've gotten our convention process now Shanghai. We're giving these people all these, you gather signatures and you get a second chance at our party's nomination. Well, no, the law doesn't say that. And I tried to tell them back in August, and at the State Central Committee, I think you were there, I tried to tell, and they tried to have me arrested. You might not have been there. I don't know.
Oh, is this the one where you were sitting outside and we had to vote on whether you could talk?
Yeah.
Okay. It was when I was still on the State Central Committee. I was there. Yeah.
All right. And so instead of saying, wait, what is she saying? They actively called the police to have me arrested for being invited by some members there to come and explain this to them.
Yeah.
And the more research I did, it's taken me a long time. That's a lot of exhibits.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned that it's even a process. There was a secret meeting in 2021. So
Okay.
Dan, I think what's exhibit is it's.
Oh, these are your exhibits. Got it. Okay, so you had to go through and kind of put all this together.
Yeah, so back in 2021, Dan actually had a bill that was making its way through the Senate, and it made it more clear that you could do just convention only, even though the law says that right now. But it made it really clear. I think it was number 29 exhibit.
Oh, I'm sorry, into this.
And it was on its third and final reading during the election or the general session, and a meeting got called. And that Saturday at the governor's mansion, Mike Leavitt, Kurt Bramble, Deidre Henderson, the lieutenant governor, Cox, Derek Brown, because he was the chair at the time.
Okay.
There was, Senator Dan, so Bramble's there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who else was on there, but they had a discussion. Oh, Brad Wilson was. And Brad Wilson said on a podcast that they settled the issue, the signature gathering issue, and they're going to just not deal with that. And so the bill died. And in that bill, it said if 2/3 would have elected at the convention, they would have went directly to the general. So kind of, it was our words, but it made it to 2/3 instead of 60%.
Okay.
So if that bill would have passed, Trent Staggs and Bill Lyman got more than 2/3.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let's pause for a second, and then Mr. Producer says you have a caller with questions. So, okay, Mr. Producer, you want to put him through?
David, can you hear us? Go ahead.
Yeah, David's here. Go ahead. What do we got?
Okay.
You want my question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's hear your question.
Situation. Yeah, there's an interesting situation that's happened in relationship with this lawsuit against Cox, and that is that judges are all recusing themselves. Now, a recusal comes in relationship with they have information, or they have a relationship, or they have something, whatever, that they can't be on the stand to make a decision against this and stuff. And my question is not this the kind of functional activity that Cox, as a person who obviously doesn't care about the law and knows how to set himself up with the judges in such a way that they're going to recuse themselves? I think Cox knows this in the beginning. So my question is that, do I have any validity in thinking that?
So this is a federal case. This is a federal lawsuit. So it is federal judges. And there are actually other federal rules of civil procedure that can be done. You can even, if there's a real high power case, you can ask for even more, it to be moved, the jurisdiction to be even moved. And where this is such a high powerful case, it could be moved. But yeah, I watched them recuse, and they have stopped on the one. So that one, they must think that he's their guy and he's gonna do something to get rid of it. But we'll see, because there are other tools in the federal rules of civil procedure that you can use to handle this.
Okay.
Well, thank you. That's a great comment from you and a good answer to the question. So that's really good. I support Tracy and what she's doing. She has really good statistics and information on this. She's right in the ballpark, and this should go forward. So Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Thanks for calling in.
Very good.
Okay, so that was cool. If anyone else wants to call in, feel free to call in. I was gonna on what you were just talking about with the bill in 2021, I guess my follow-up question is if they felt they needed to pass that bill to make that clear that if you got 2/3 of the vote, you would go straight to convention, or not, sorry, straight 2/3 of the vote at convention, you go straight to the general election ballot. Does that mean that the law as written actually is how it's being practiced right now? Meaning you have to get at least 40% of the vote at convention to go to the primary ballot, or you can circumvent that by collecting signatures?
No, because anybody believing that Cox has the power to choose and allow and place those on, or Deidre, I should point out, this is Deidre. Deidre did this. She was the one that had the authority. The buck stopped with her. But that law does not say that at all. Convention, the primary convention is in its own section. And that's the section we use to nominate. So it's like 28-9-407. That's the entire section we use that's been delegated to the parties. And anybody can, it's not just the Republican Party, anybody can choose how they design, how they're going to pick. And there's case law that says you cannot decide how a party is going to pick their nominee. You can give them a convention process. You can require a primary, which is the primary convention, but you can't force that. And the law doesn't say that. And even if it did, it would be unconstitutional and null and void. So to me, I'm like, it's null and void. You violated it. And so the crutch of this is once she says, I'm queen, I'm going to allow these people, that's how she's acting. I'm going to allow these people to gather signatures and place them on the ballot. She did that, and then she put it in the mail.
Okay.
And then so that's mail fraud. And then they took to social media and emailing saying, look at me, I can really collect signatures. I really am valid. Believe me, I'm good. Those delegates can't choose. You get to choose. You guys get to nominate. Well, the law doesn't say that. We believe in a representative form of government. So at caucus on March Tuesday night in March or whatever, sometime in March, the caucus system meets. You elect your delegate there. That delegate represents you there, and they go on to pick the nominee and send them to nominate them either to the general ballot, or if nobody reaches 60%, like in the attorney general's race, the top two are nominated to a final primary ballot that's issued to the entire party. That's what the rules say. That's what the law, and the law provides that you can do it. And what the law says is that lieutenant governor, the party's supposed to certify those candidates to the lieutenant governor following that convention, or state ran convention, or a county one, and the party directs her which ones to go on which ballots, and they just ignored it.
Okay.
They ignored the system.
Okay, so then let me just say, so Susan Beretta says, due to the number of defendants, I would expect a number of judges to have friendships with at least one of them, and a high number would recuse. So I take it then, based on her comment, that you're not surprised that you've had federal judges recuse themselves from the lawsuit.
Oh, yeah, I knew they would recuse. I knew it was going to go, and we can have it moved. And this is getting because it concerns the entire nation. I mean, you see Cox, he's running around like he's president, meeting with these foreign national leaders. And I'm like, what is going on? Yeah. So the department, the Department of Justice they have like an interest. They're saying, wait, what's going on here? And
have you been contacted by the Department of Justice about this?
I'm told that I'm going to actually write, I'm going to file a motion to enjoin the United States as a party, as a plaintiff.
Okay.
Because they have an interest. They guaranteed us a representative form of government, and we don't have that. So
Okay, Mr. Producer wants me to show. Oh, here. Okay. Okay. Now let me ask you a question though. So if people sign up for the lawsuit, what does that mean? Are they being added as a party? Is this just kind of like
they're going to go on to a list, and then once this goes to the certain point, we certify it as a class action, and that's because we're demonstrating. Look, it's too big, so nothing happens with them. They just sit and wait. We'll get in contact with them. It's the main parties are the ones that are on the plaintiff right now, and they would be working with any attorneys and such.
Okay, got it. So right now it hasn't not been certified as a class action yet before the court, right?
Right,
okay.
And it's going to be.
Okay, and then you'll have to then, I guess, Mr. Producer wants to know, can anyone join the case as a potential plaintiff?
Yes, anybody, because even if you're in Wyoming, I mean, we have an unelected person in there making decisions, and I can tell you right now, Cox already said that he was instrumental in the land swap. Well, the land swap, Cox is like swapping out your land with Utah state land and then selling it off. He's like taking your land. Like, people think federal land belongs to the federal government. No, it belongs to the American people, and it can only be used for the benefit of us. But some Shanghai, it's like they pirated the ship and they're going around swapping it. And I mean, you can go look it up, John Curtis, and it's on X, his post about how he was instrumental in that land swap. So, like,
okay. Okay, so I guess, I don't know if this is too technical, but if you have people from out of state that sign up, are you concerned about the potential for standing issues?
No, I'm not, because they do have standing because their land's getting sold. and John Curtis just facilitated it.
Okay.
I mean, they're stealing our land and our minerals in it, because that's why he's running around with these internationals, is he's selling our minerals. And I don't know any American
around promoting disagree better.
Yeah.
Something deeper there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then I guess just back on that class action certification piece, at what point are you going to ask the court to certify? I assume, is there some sort of numbers threshold you're looking for? Is there, or some other factors that are at play?
Some other factors, but I'm hoping that we can get to 5,000 within the next, little bit, and because the more momentum, the more pressure there will be on the powers that be,
Okay. And then I guess my other question is, like, have there been other lawsuits like this that have been filed? I mean, because I think that the ask here is actually very big, right? To kind of, I don't think it doesn't actually. Are you asking to cancel the last election?
I'm asking
the process going forward.
No, I'm asking him to declare the certifications null and void. They were illegal. So that cancels, and declare the office vacant. And for equitable relief, go back because our state constitution does provide for when an office becomes vacant, you hold another election during the general, and that's next year. So to me, equitable relief would be to restart from what the convention results were and move forward from that process. We've actually had an insurrection. If you go read the insurrection law, sorry, you guys totally manipulated our state law. You twisted and made it fit it so you could get a second chance. Come on, common sense tells you can't get a second chance because you spent $1 million on signatures. The people representing the areas spoke. You guys lost. Derek Brown, you lost. You were disqualified. Just because you have $2 million to go buy signatures doesn't mean you get a second chance. It's not how the law works. It's not how the law reads. And
Are you sure about that? I mean, I heard Derek Brown is a very good husband and father. So I feel like that makes up for it.
well, I mean, the process, if you look at the process, it even if they did, then the lieutenant or the legislature have left us with nothing but with the system vulnerable to fraud. Because look at what Michael Clara has shown. He has shown that they did not get the signatures. So even if so they had fraud upon the fraud, they even frauded the fraud. Like,
well, see, what I take away from that Michael Clara example is that he has shown that Governor Cox did not have the required signatures, right? I feel like that's definitive at this point. But he's also shown that if you control the election system as the lieutenant governor does, you can do what you want. And even though you don't have the signatures, you can still put yourself on the primary ballot. And there's really nothing anyone can do about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just beholden. They're not beholden to the representative, the reps, like the delegates. They are now beholden to the donors. And what's funny is those signature gatherers, they make the money off signature gathering. Then they turn around and they're a lobbyist and they go make more money, because that was what Matt Lusty did. He has this political signature gathering. He's all with it, but then he goes and turns around and gets $2 million allotted to him to come and convince us that we have a housing crisis. Like, it's just, it is insane what has gone in the state. It is really disappointing that those elected up there allowed this. It's shame on them. And I did try to make them all aware, and I gave it to Mike Schultz and said in his office and said that process is not. First of all, it does not say that, and second of all, it would be completely unconstitutional. You swore an oath. You have to uphold it. And he just threw me out. So he just said, "Get out."
Do you mean that you showed him a copy of the complaint, or did you like walk him through what was
the notice of intent that said the law does not say that, this says this, and he just threw me out. Nobody listens. The Utah government is a corrupt organization right now, and in my opinion, they have put the entire nation at risk. So I think it's a national security concern that everybody should, because we're selling, missiles to like Ukraine, and like, it's like, come on, what are we doing? This is insane. And some of the things that we've dug up that our money is funding, we're in a bad way. And federal funding, or an understanding is they're using federal funding. Utah got over $7 billion last year in federal funding. So there's another standing. Sorry, it's like if we have corrupt people that are just handing out this money to themselves and to their friends, then you've got standing.
Yeah. Okay, we got a question. Lori Gagan says, Tracy, did you say that it is possible for President Trump to step in?
Yes, there is a law that allows it.
What does that mean, to step in?
Well, military, if you go and read the Insurrection Act, the military, he has the power when something has been, and they messed with those election laws. And now we don't even have an elected person sitting there. So people are like, you can't undo the election. You can't. It wasn't a true reflection of the vote of the people, because the wrong people were there. So yeah, you just declare that certification null and void, and the office is vacant. And that, to me, the federal government then would have to help us administer the election, and we hold it and get a fair election. What they did is disgusting. They knew what they were doing. It's common sense that you can't steal someone's nomination. Like, who do they think they are? Like, these elite people that are untouchable? And I honestly think they do think that, because Phil Lyman did challenge the primary and challenge that law that they were misapplying it in the Utah Supreme Court. And Justice Durant, unlawfully, again, usurping his authority, he makes this ruling and he uses law that doesn't even apply. Like he contorts and does this and he dismisses it. And there's actual code that says it doesn't matter if it's not even written right. If you have an election question, you have to hear it. You have to go through it. It isn't, there's a law specifically that says that. And he broke it.
Okay, so now Lori Gagan says, if and when President Trump steps in, how quickly would Cox be out? I think it's a little wishful thinking, but
yeah. I don't know, Laurie, to honestly tell you. Hopefully, as soon as to me, they've read the case. They know they broke the law. This is a civil suit, but yeah, to me, it's it says come in and look, because these guys broke the law. What they did, they used the signature trick to make everybody think that they were legitimate candidates, that they could do that. The law never said that. I mean, a party could design itself to do that, but I don't know why they would. And once they were disqualified at convention, that was it. They were done. But he wanted to use the fraudulent scheme, and and everybody that's in the lawsuit, they might not think that that's fair that they're in it. But when you have the meetings of the minds like that, they should have stopped and listened, instead of trying to have me arrested and for trying to inform them that was being misapplied.
Okay. Well, we're basically at time here. So where can people find you, and how can they help you if they want to help you?
Sign up at utahcorruption.com. That is like the main website. And also my handle on Twitter is Tracy Halverson, at Tracy Halverson. So yeah, you can find me there. And if you join our class action, we'll be in touch with you. A member of our team will be.
Okay, cool. Great. Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Goud.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Okay. Well, that is interesting. I was hoping she was going to say if you sign up, you get a free cookie. I love a good cookie. Not the crumble kind, though. They're too sugary and they're not that good. Okay. And let's see. We have 2 minutes left. So, let me close on this. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And I hope this has been informative. For those of you that live in Riverton, I hope the interviews were helpful. We have kind of I think we have two good choices. So the question is just, how are people going to lean in this race? They seem to have different approaches on how they're going to view government. I will say that the most surprising thing to me is that 287G agreement. I honestly thought both of them would support it, but I guess not. I guess we'll see. So that was very interesting. I'm still kind of puzzled by it. And then, as I have said repeatedly, Gavin Newsom should never be president. He is a horrible, horrible governor. And because of him, there is now child sex trafficking and prostitution openly occurring on the streets of California. If you are one of those people that are okay with that, God bless you. I hope that you find a better way. And as for the rest of you, thank you again for listening to the Goud Crowd. We are on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can catch us at my X handle, which is at Goud for Utah. You can also catch us at I think it's the Utah Main Street, or the Main Street Media Utah X handle, as well as their Rumble and YouTube. Until next week, you're welcome. Thanks for thanking me. Until next week, if you have, and actually, let me just say this. Before next Monday, if you have any tips or if you have any issues you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out. I will say that I did get a tip about Amazon Flex. I did not get a chance to run down to this parking lot or to talk to the person this week, but I am planning on doing that. And hopefully I'll have more on that. And that should be kind of a connection of what we were talking about with Uber and illegal aliens driving those. In any event, thank you for listening. We will see you next time.